could you give me like a brief introduction or however long you want to take about how you got introduced with Spelling to Communicate and with Nico as well?
Yeah, sure. So it has been about almost 3 years since we got introduced to Spelling to Communicate. And it happened to be when Nicholas was moving from middle school into high school. And I kept on feeling like his needs weren't being met in the public school system. I always knew there was so much more to him, but um, it was very limited what he was able to get out of the public school system. So we started looking for just different schools that could sort of explore different methods of communication. Nico has always been a non-speaker, and we happened to stop upon like a family that had been spelling for maybe a year and a half, and they were kind of in the same process, but before us were in the same process. They had already found a school, they shared their experiences with spelling to communicate. So we ended up um, being introduced to the method, and started going to a school that was strictly doing spelling to communicate with their students. So it was all neurodiverse students. They were all spelling to communicate. And that's kind of how he ended up going to school there for about a year. And it took us, I want to say, about 2 months, 2.5 months into the process to really start comprehending like the dance that goes into spelling. It is like learning a new language, or like dancing something that you have never danced before, walking into a country you never stepped on before. It's all so new, so different. And even now, we're almost 3 years into learning every day from him. So now, even now that we have what we describe as open communication, where he's able to express his feelings, his needs, his wants, his desires, his goals, his vision. And now I'm still learning so much from him. So it's almost, he started doing it at the age of 16. He's 18 now. So it's a lot of ground that we have to make up for. Yeah, I don't know that I would say it took me 16 years to presume competency with him. I think, as a parent, you know that there is more to your child. So 16 years of assuming his life, of assuming he wanted breakfast that day, of assuming that he wanted orange juice, assuming that he did wanted to go to the pool, or he did wanted to go to the school or not. So in the assumptions that we make in a day to day, that's one thing, because as a parent, you're always trying to do the best for your kid. Um, but there was never a doubt in my mind that there was so much more to Nico than we were tapping. Oh gosh, magical, and hard. Magical because the little things, you're finally getting a sense of who he is. There is so much work to it. Like, you don't get to have a conversation with um, with them right off the bat. There is a lot of work to go into it. So very much like learning the alphabet for the first time, so that you can then put words together, right? So everything is very um, lesson learned. That you're having a Q&A, but it's very basic, because you don't want to disrupt the process of the beauty that you will be communicating with him. So it's almost like, that you're in for the long run, you're for the marathon, but you want to finish a 5K really fast. And it doesn't quite work that way. And they're the ones leading the pace to all of it. From the first time that an individual spells "I love you," and you go, "Oh my gosh, that is the first time in my life my son has ever said that to me," or from the first time he says, "I do love eggs, but not today. Today I kind of want cereal." Oh gosh, I think the ice cream one is one that stands out the most, because his body was so he would look at either a cup of ice cream or a lollipop or a popsicle, and he would push it away, just really act like there was nothing about it that he wanted. And we check with him and say, well, would you like to take, and it was before, like he had physically in this experience done that, but we check with him before and say, I'm going to have some ice cream. I say, would you like to have some? And, prior to that, I would have had ice cream before communication and not even offered to him, because typically his body would have pushed it away. So he answered that he would love to have some ice cream with me. And sure enough, I give him a popsicle, and he grabs the popsicle, and his body is saying, no way, I am not putting that in my mouth. And then I would check with him on the board, and he'll be like, I am dying to try the popsicle. Just keep trying, keep coaching my body through it. And it was truly like, if somebody from the outside was observing that, they'll be like, oh my gosh, that poor kid, they're making him suffer through that ice cream. And it was the quite opposite. And then after like 3-5 minutes into it, his body started changing, like his mind and his body started making the connection of, yes, this is what I want, and I can help my body kind of self-regulate and enjoy what I'm doing. So from those little things, being at home any Saturday or Sunday, and for him to say, let's go to the beach, this is what I want to do today, or how about we just go have lunch somewhere else instead of home, or I am, this is not what I want for dinner, but I'm okay if you make that. And I guess I'm repeating the things about food, because those are the things that we will constantly assume about these individuals, because as self-preservation, they have to eat, they have to drink. So those are like the first essentials that we assume. But even from getting dressed, I like the soft t-shirts, and not because, I don't like the other one. It's just, it feels better on my skin. It's super hot out. I'd rather wear flip-flops. Where if had he not had communication, would I be like, go ahead and put on your shoes, we're leaving the house. So yeah, I think being able to support a human being through their wants and needs, and those are some of the ones that I can like express now. But just not too long ago, he said, I wanted to learn how to play the drums. It's like, all right, that's awesome. So now he's taking drum lessons, and the same, he will sit in drum classes and be like, some days his body is like, nope, not cooperating, but he wants to push through it. So 20 minutes into it, he's on it, and I'm able to support that for him through communication. Because had it been before that, and if he was acting upset, I'd be like, well, let's go home. This is not a good day to try this, because as a parent, that you don't want to see your child cry or feel like they're in any sort of stress or pain. So anyhow, but yeah, now we can do pretty much anything. He loves to travel, so if he has a way to go anywhere, he'll be like, where are we going next? And I knew that was always something in all the assumptions that I had when he was a kid, that, right, this guy loves getting on a train, on a plane, anywhere, and he would just rock life. That was his happy moment. And now it's confirmed. He loves traveling. He will take a plane anywhere, a train anywhere. I will say that in some aspects of life, his body has changed when it comes to regulation, but it's not the norm. And I think you can see that with a lot of the spellers that you might be talking to, where, he may sit here with us later and have an excellent time spelling and being super regulated. What regulation might look like to you and I might be him sitting here super calm. And then if you have a more intimate conversation with him, he will probably tell you, my gosh, it took every piece of me, because I was actually just frozen in time. My body wasn't moving, which in a sense is not really regulating to them. So what to the eye looks regulating, as someone being calm and collective and being able to spell, sometimes for him is, I am carrying a super heavy load inside of me. And I don't think that's any different from a neurotypical, I think sometimes we tend to navigate experiences in life where we feel or look like we got it going on, like we got this under control, and in reality, on the inside, we're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait until this is over and I get home and I'm by myself and I can. Oof. So a lot of times they do carry a lot of that stressors with them, and it looks regulating to us. And a lot of times it does look more like a physical dysregulation, and he still has those where when he's dysregulated and he expresses it with noises, and he expresses it with his body, and he sweats, and a lot of times he's trying to express something that is wonderful. So while his body might look dysregulated in a negative way to the human eye, he's actually thrilled to share something that is making him also happy. Um, and like for him, he has a lot of experiences with my like visiting family where he is in heaven, cloud nine, and there might be a moment through sitting around having conversations with everyone that he looks like he's under stress physically, and if you check with him, it's all about I am the the luckiest guy on earth. Look at my family. I'm surrounded by everyone. This is the best. So yeah, I think one key assumption there is that regulation is not always the same to them. While he might look under stress, he might be extremely happy on the inside, and vice versa. There I have encountered a couple parents that when they have seen Nico spell, um, the reaction has been the same, and I'm sure there's many of this out there, but that they will see him and be like, "Oh, but my child is not like him," and my answer was always the same. Yeah, I hope not. I hope your child is not like mine, and I hope that nobody around us is anybody's like anybody else. But it's truly about giving them the chance, give the opportunity to allow them to open the door. It's not our door to open. It's not our path to walk. It's theirs. They're here for a reason, not the same as ours. So while we brought them into this world and we are um, responsible to give them a safety net in life, it is also our job to empower them to take the path, and they want to. I'm yet to meet a speller that's like, oh, I don't want to spell. They're like, hey, you want to sit down and have a conversation? So it is about us empowering them, and it is about someone like you, Hank, and somebody like my siblings and my entire family and our friends to give them a chance, to give them the opportunity to have a life like we all deserve.